Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of a Man once again, and today we are doing another manga review. And now today we are going to be reviewing Olympus. This is written by Aki and it's published by Yen Press, as you guys can see down there. There you go, that's the whole book. And the demographic here apparently is josei. Now I don't actually remember if I knew that, but while I was outlining my review, I was very surprised that it was a josei, but it actually makes complete sense now that I'm looking at it. There's a abundance of bishonen characters, and there's not, I don't know, very many female characters that are relevant. And it's all about the male characters and, you know, these like vaguely homoerotic things, which actually fit in with the Greek theme, so I thought it was okay. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. The genres here are drama, fantasy, and supernatural. It deals with gods and immortality. So there you go. This does not have an adaptation as far as I know, but I could be wrong. So if anyone does know, please let me know down in the comments. And the premise here is that this beautiful boy, Ganymede, which is a prince of Troy, if I remember correctly, has been granted immortality after being kidnapped from his family by the god Apollo. And he basically comes to know through his immortality that the gods are immensely bored because they are immortal and they know everything that has already happened and will happen because of this weird kind of thing where they can only speak the truth. So very, very interesting stuff. And basically they have to find amusement in any way they can, and that means they mess with humans who are super novel to them because, you know, they're very different in existence. So, yeah, let's jump into the review here. The plot is interesting. There's a development of a plot line, but it's not super complex because it's not really about the, like, there's no real, like, start, middle, and end point to the story. It's more about what these characters go through and the sort of realizations that they come to. So I guess in that sense, there is a beginning, a middle, and an end. But the way that the story is structured, it's like not in that order, if that makes sense. Like at the beginning, we have Ganymede in a certain situation where he's just basically like apathetic to everything and everyone, right? And then during the middle of the book, we get a flashback to him as a child. And then at the end, we have him as a, you know, just as old as the gods in this kind of like, realization, I guess. Something around that kind of idea. And so it's all about like figuring out who is where and why they're doing what they're doing. But there's really no like guiding principle along which the story revolves, right? Well, I mean, there is, but it's not like a plot point or a kind of like action-oriented piece. It's all about the development of this idea of immortality and boredom. So it's cool, but I don't know. I just didn't find it to be like immensely interesting. Like it wasn't set up in a way that was like very compelling, I guess. Like it was interesting and it was enjoyable and it did, you know, get me thinking a little bit, but only a little bit. It wasn't something that kind of like profoundly affected me in any way and kind of made me realize, hey, I should enjoy what I have or anything like that, which I think was kind of the point of the story. It was supposed to tell you about how, you know, everyone wishes for immortality and long life, but at one point you would get bored and things would start to lose meaning, right? But like, so like it didn't really do it in a way that like really dug into the heart of the matter and affected me in any way. It was just kind of like, okay, sure. So which is why I've said several times that it felt kind of like pretentious, but I also don't think that that's the right word because it doesn't come off as snooty or snobby or anything like that. It's just kind of like those things that people that think are really intelligent say in order to prove that they think deeply, but then you're just like, dude, everyone can think that. It's not really that serious. But like, do you guys understand what I'm saying? Like, it's just something that like, is attempting to feel deep without actually being there. And maybe the thought wasn't actually to be deep of a story. It just kind of like comes off that way. And I just didn't think it was that amazing. Like, I enjoyed it and I thought it was fun and it was a cool like little read. And I actually read it really fast. I was interested in figuring out what was going to happen, but I just never felt like it really hit that point where it was like, oh man, this is awesome. You know what I mean? And yeah, that's basically it for the plot line. Now the characters here are, well, there's basically just three of them, really. There's Ganymede, who is the Prince of Troy, and he's basically a very bishonen, pretty boy kind of character. The way he's dressed, which I think is relatively accurate to how Greek people dressed at the time, makes him look really effeminate. And he has a lot of like jewelry all over the place and this like shirt that looks like a dress and stuff like that. And Apollo is the god of the sun, and he's just very unapologetically bored and wants to do whatever he wants in order to find some amount of amusement. So he's kind of like a dick. He's just like a douche. And he just kind of like doesn't care about anything, which, I mean, as a being of supreme power, it totally makes sense, right? Like, why would he care about these wacky ass animals that just like think they know things and do things and like misrepresent him as a god, right? I think they even mention it, like, humans don't care about ants, so why would gods care about humans, right? Which is interesting, and it's enjoyable in the sense that, like, oh, you've said something that, you know, maybe isn't profound, but like that people maybe don't really think about or like don't really rationalize correctly in their head. Because, you know, a lot of the mythology and the ideas that we have today are all about benevolent gods and people that really care about what's going on in the world, and or not people, like gods that care about what's going on in the world. And it's like, if you have that much power, why would you care about one specific world for any, you know, reason, right? So I kind of like that aspect of Apollo. But overall, he's just kind of like a really shitty person. Although there is a bit of a kind of revelation to Apollo that he wasn't really sure of. Like, he knew subconsciously, but he didn't ever like actively try to allow to reveal to him. Or allowed himself to reveal to himself, which was really interesting, and it was kind of sad, but like I didn't initially get what the point was. Like, it wasn't very well explained, if that makes sense, but it made him a little bit more enjoyable as a person. And the last one is Hades, who is the god of death. He's kind of okay with his boredom because I guess he rules over the dead, and so there's a little bit more for him to do than other people, I guess. I'm not really sure, because these gods really don't specifically act in the way that they are supposed to. Like, sure, Apollo is the god of the sun, but he doesn't really do anything about it. He's just kind of like there as such, right? And so Hades is kind of similar to that, but he has a very interesting appearance. He looks monstrous, but also rather beautiful. It's a very interesting kind of like dichotomy there of like conflicting ideas that really might not be as conflicting as you think. And I like him a lot. His character design is beautiful. And the way that he expresses himself is very interesting. Again, it's also one of those like, are you being fake deep right now? Because I don't like, I don't know. I just liked him better than Apollo. I think he kind of functioned as a better character, but it's also because he probably had less time in the spotlight, right? So, yeah. Now, there's a few other characters that show up, but that aren't really important. Like Poseidon, who is just kind of like a dude bro, and he just like really embraces the whole kind of like act like the god they want you to be kind of thing, because to him, that is kind of amusing and that is fun. So he does that. And he teaches Apollo a bit of that along the way. And then there's Zeus, who looks like one of those like seraphim angels, I think they're called. It's like the ones that have like, that are like a ball of wings, which is really cool. I really like that imagery. And it kind of tied into other types of religions and stuff. So I thought that was really interesting. But like the way that they describe Zeus is like badass. He just sounds like holy, like that is ultimate power. And I thought that was really cool. But again, he's not really an important character. He like literally shows up once or twice and that's it. And then there's Artemis, who is Apollo's sister, obviously. And she and Apollo have this thing going on, and then that kind of relates to his revelation that he had, which made him a more approachable character. But overall, I was very confused with that the first time I sat down to read it. I had to reread that section and then kind of think about it a little bit to understand what was going on. And I think it wasn't because there was a lot of depth there. It was just because the way it was written and like drawn was just a little confusing. Like it didn't really mesh together, right? So, I don't know. And then the two other characters are Heinz, who is the character is at the beginning of the story, and he basically is used to explain what's going on. But again, there's nothing really interesting about him. He just kind of is there. And then Iris, who is a human worshiper of Apollo, and she's kind of like the person that like helps Apollo realize a few things and kind of develops something, and it kind of leads to that revelation that he had later on. So it's very interesting. I actually think she was relatively important to Apollo specifically, but not to the overall story, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I mean, it's just like the three main characters are interesting in their own ways, but like there's nothing really about them that is like, oh my god, this is amazing, right? So yeah. Now the world building here is interesting. I like the whole idea that they can only speak the truth, but the truth is like still kind of subjective. So like they know that it's absolute to them, but if, you know, someone that hears it doesn't believe it, then it stops being true to that person, right? And so it affects how it works and stuff like that. It's actually very interesting. And they use it as a sort of thing to alleviate their boredom, but then at a certain point, they can't anymore because they've had so much time to do this that there's no more questions to ask. And then there's this whole like idea like if I can't say it, it's not real. So like they know things even if they don't know them, if that makes sense. So that's pretty cool. I did really like that. I wish that had played a bigger part in the story than it did. But overall, I did really enjoy the world building here just because it's so novel, I guess. But again, it's not very deep. It's very like surface level. It's just supposed to be like something interesting to keep you, you know, reading, but it's not really like amazing, right? It's also not super accurate to how Greek mythology and Greek people looked. So if you're looking for like a Greek historical fiction story, this isn't really it. It's more like, let's take elements from that and then assign it to this idea and then kind of construct that around it, right? It's not really accurate. So if you were looking for something super accurate, this isn't really for you, but it is still relatively viable as a kind of like Greek inspired thing. So I liked it. Now the art here is very pretty. It's beautiful. It's actually the best part of the book, I think. I want to keep this book just because the art is so pretty. It looks really nice. I really do enjoy it. It has a very kind of flowy texture, I guess, to it. It like looks like wind is coming across the pages at all times, and it's very pretty. But again, it's not very like amazing. Like, no, actually, no, this is really amazing. It's just like I would have liked more characters and more backgrounds and more things so that the mangaka could really, you know, stretch their abilities to the max. But yeah, now fan service wise, I would say that there is some, but it's not oriented to what I would consider fan service, like for me, right? Like the stuff that you see in harem manga and you know, regular shonen, like that whole very like cisgender heterosexual kind of appeal that you see in a lot of shonen and like seinen, right? Obviously, it's because it's a josei, so it appeals more to women, and it's a very kind of like borderline yaoi, I guess. Like the fan servicey elements are like two guys kissing, two guys with shirts off and glistening and like sparkly stuff going on, and these kind of just like really beautiful looking people. So it's fan service in that sense. I guess it's like for Fuyoshis, but I get like not really. It's very minimal, but there is some stuff there that you could consider fan service. When you take into account, you know, it's not going to be for the general audience that you're probably used to. So there you go. And the rating here, well, I would give this a 3 out of 5. It was like a solid story. It was better than like average, but it wasn't anything super special. So it's just a 3 out of 5 for me. It's, like, it was good, but it felt like it was missing something. I really wanted that whole kind of like epiphany moment where it's like, damn, this is actually really deep and I'm really interested in thinking about this now because it's a very interesting look at philosophy. And I just never got that, which maybe is because I had high expectations, but I wouldn't really say that because I didn't know anything about the story going in. And then once I started reading it, I was like, okay, so this is trying to get me to think about something, but then it never actually asked me a question or gave me any answer that was that meaningful to think about, right? So that's why I feel like it was missing something. But overall, it's a pretty solid story. If you can get it used, I would definitely recommend it. I don't think that $20 for this book is a good price. Like, it is because, you know, it matches the other prices of other yen press stuff. But, like, the story to me doesn't really feel like it's worth a premium $20, right? So, you know, to everyone, you know, everyone can decide if that's worth it to them or not. But I definitely think that this is a better book to buy used than it is to buy new. So there you go. So I definitely recommend this title if you're interested in this sort of idea, because maybe I just was too critical of it, and it's possible that there was something deep about it that I just didn't pick up on because, you know, with that sort of stuff, it's always possible that that happens. So I guess if you found anything that I said interesting, you should definitely give it a read. And I still recommend it just because the art is so pretty, but I don't really think that many people are going to be super in love with this story. So yeah, now I don't really know any other similar titles to this. I personally haven't read anything like it, but I don't know. So yeah, sorry. But if anyone does know anything similar, please let me know down in the comments. I guess other things by Aki would probably work well, but I don't know if she has anything released in English that is available by them. So yeah, and that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys later.